Hello, and welcome to a sort of a reloaded version of episode 48. Last week we had so many technical difficulties that the stream was not able to go forward. So today is going to be somewhat of a test stream of sorts. I think we've worked out all of the kinks. We did some technical changes. I feel pretty good that this is going to be our strongest stream yet, but we'll see how it goes. We'll be joined today by Sister Speak. Sherri will be making some Yunnan Dayao together. Should be fun, and we plan to make it a fairly quick session. I'm gonna have a really beautiful tea called Yunnan Dayao. It's a big leaf heirloom cultivar from a farm in Yunnan. We're pretty stoked to drink that today. And then next week we're going to actually have the owner of Teakan, Teakan, out of Vancouver join us. I had a great session with her when I was co-hosting the Victoria Tea Festival online this year, last November. If you go to Tea Victoria or look it up, the International Tea Appreciation Society webpage, and you can link to the YouTube channel. We have so many videos that were broken up by the hour with all these different amazing guests, many from Origin, live from Origin, farmers, different amazing tea specialists in their field. Had such a great time. And so Teakan will be joining us. After that will be Sarjessa. We'll have Alexandra from Sarjessa joining us. She's has a powerful project going on where she's brewing tea and involving herself very heavily in advocacy for ending or combating domestic abuse, and we're really looking forward to a very deep and thoughtful tea session with her. So that's something we're very much looking forward to. And then it looks like we'll have Harry, one of the managers over at Folepi. Folepi, the owner, Cliff, joined us for an episode on fermentation a few months back, and so we'll be joined by his bar supervisor, bar manager, who's going to talk to us about implementing matcha and what that might look like in a faster moving bar. So excited to have that conversation. So lots of interesting stuff happening. If you want to check out updates, go to jagasilk.com. On the top page should be some information about what we're up to. So yeah. For today, I plan on starting out the session like I always do with a tea that I've never had before. Thought it might be interesting because of the time of year. So this is harvest time, so there's lots of really interesting samples that are coming in, and I kind of get lost in fresh tea land pretty quick here. Before that happens, it's kind of fun to explore what it would be like to have a different, like a tea. This is actually a jasmine. So I don't normally work with flavored teas. I'm not a big fan. I find that when we have flavored teas, it takes away from the craftsmanship conversation. And so as popular as they are, I tend to steer away from them. I don't believe that they shouldn't exist or anything that hardcore, harsh or whatever. I believe that they play an important role for interesting people and flavors, etc. I just know that I really like that conversation about craftsmanship and farmers and all that. But jasmine, especially good jasmine, where it's been really carefully prepared, is a different story for me. Although it's a quote unquote, flavored tea, it's different in that it's not flavored with essential oils. What it is flavored with is jasmine petals that have been cured for a few months, and so there's quite the craftsmanship to it. And you see the farmers really spending a lot of time on sorting afterwards, and really good jasmine, for every kilogram of every kilogram of petals, you only have 100 grams of tea leaves. So it's quite a lot of, I guess, waste is one way of looking at it. But there's it's just slowly baked with the tea leaves, and then they sort out the jasmine afterwards, and you get this imbuing of the jasmine aromatics. Is quite interesting. So I've kind of hummed and hawed about bringing out one. I actually thought, depending on how things go, we might have brought one out earlier this year. But of course, with the COVID-19 restrictions and all of the challenges with that, it's been an interesting journey just trying to figure out, the best road for a smaller roster of teas this year than any other year, really, and how to interact with the unknowns that I think we're all facing in the tea community. Okay, that is brewed at 80 degrees centigrade. I did 3 grams for 90 mils, so that's 1 gram per. I might have brewed this too strong. We'll see how it goes. I find that this way of brewing jasmine has done me well in the past. These were some pearls. And we'll just see. Okay. Grab a cup here. Just give me a second. See how this tastes. Okay. Smells amazing. Yeah, whenever I have a really good one, I always ask myself, why not? Okay, so that, I was worried that I was brewing it too hot. But I have to say, that's actually on the weaker side. That could handle probably a hotter brewing temperature. The problem with brewing too hot, of course, is that you can release some unpleasant astringents. So that's definitely not what I want to do. But we'll see what happens with a slightly hotter temperature at 90 degrees. Should be joined shortly also by Sister Speak. I'll just make sure that she's got the invite all right. And then we will see what happens. Okay. And that's a 90. Okay, so I'm kind of hesitant to brew this too long at this hotter temperature. So I'm just gonna increase the temp but drop the time. And I might be shooting myself in the foot here, so to speak, and making for a really astringent tea, but I could also be under brewing. We'll see what happens. Okay. If you're interested in what Sister Speak is up to, you should check out her stream. She's on every Thursday before my show. You can join her on her Patreon. Go to patreon.com/sisterspeak, or check out her webpage, sisterspeakmusic.com, to get details. But she joins us basically every week when she can. She won't be joining us in May, as she's going to be going and recording a new album, which is pretty cool. But we'll be seeing her otherwise. So, yeah. All right. So that's a minute at 90. Let's see what that does for the flavor. So to be fair, I did brew this in an Yixing teapot. So the 2 minutes, 80 degrees might have worked out if I had a teapot that was a little bit denser. Maybe if I'd done it in glass, which arguably I should have done because this is a more fragrant tea. I've just been really interested in working with this little teapot. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoy it a lot. Yeah, that smells a lot nicer. Yeah, a lot more enjoyable flavor. It's always interesting to me. Most of the time, if you're gonna have a nice green tea, you want to make sure that you're not over extracting, because a lot of greens, because of how they go through enzymatic oxidation, where there's essentially a lack thereof, there's this kind of very noticeably harsh astringency that you can pull out if you use too hot of water. So you want to really curate more of the vegetal sweetness and the umami that is possible. And therefore, it helps to reduce that temperature down a bit and really have a slower engagement with the tea, that's for sure. Yeah, it's really nice. I'm just gonna see what's up with my guest. All right, so looks like the connection is pretty strong right now. That's great. This new equipment seems to be working. Just gonna move on to making this Yunnan. So if you can see, those leaves look pretty nice, eh? So those are some fairly big leaves. There's a little bit of bud content in there. This is available on our webpage right now. Just released it actually 2 days ago. So encourage you to check it out. How I like to make my crimson teas, generally speaking, is I love to do 1 gram for every 60 mils. If they're deeply withered, I use 100 degrees centigrade, and I generally go for a 3.5 minute brew time. So I've already pre-weighed out. Oh, actually, now that I think about it, I might have actually done 4 grams, when in this teapot, it's going to be more conducive to 3. How cool is that little bamboo thing? Okay. Three grams it is. And we're going to do boiling water. So I'm going to do again 3.5 minutes. And I'm going to pour on top. So, okay. I find that when I'm brewing, I like to use more of a bulbous teapot. I think it makes a big difference. It allows the leaves to spin with convection currents, properly extract flavor. You really want to make sure that you're not using a tea bag or a tea ball or even a tea cylinder, as that's going to restrict the leaves from spinning. If you do have a tea bag, you can always tear it open and you can put it into like a mug cup, and then when you're done brewing, you can pour it through a sieve into another mug cup, and that's going to get you a little bit more freedom of movement. You're going to taste better extraction. Important that your tea is fresh. This particular selection, so in early 2020, we were running low on crimson teas, and we were desperate to bring some in, and we ended up buying actually quite a bit of crimson tea from different places as we were trying to interact with the limitations that COVID-19 was quickly bringing to the table. Lots of flights were canceled, so a lot of freight wasn't able to move around the world like it used to. There's a lot of backup in ports as people are trying to figure out what to do with all of the different goods moving around. And so we had a lot of orders on the water that couldn't move. And we ended up actually bringing in crimson teas from multiple places and buying in a way that we don't normally do. And so we've been having this beautiful Taklai by Neha, which was really nice. It was hand-rolled, kind of strawberry-like, hints of kind of cooked tomato, and we've been really enjoying that. The tea that was scheduled to come out after it is this one. This is the Yunnan Dayao Zong. So Yunnan is an interesting province in that it's extremely famous for its pu'er. Pu'er not from Yunnan is actually not pu'er. It needs to come from southern Nanuo. There's an area that has the right bacteria, the right production spaces. It's like an appellation in wine, where you have champagne and you have sparkling wine. Well, you have pu'er and you have dark tea. So dark tea is kind of like the genre title, and dark tea made in this region you can call pu'er. Then that production region has been really famous for these teas for thousands of years, really. But this particular way of working with tea, where you turn it into a crimson tea, or what we call black tea in North America, is a little bit more of a recent phenomenon. This is a technique developed actually in trade a little bit before, but definitely in increased in its capacity with the British. And so when there was this British tea trade happening, Yunnan got really involved in preparing this genre of tea. So they call it crimson tea in Japan, in China, Taiwan, but in England they renamed this genre black tea. So the problem with that is that the genre of black tea already existed, and that's what the pu'ers really are a part of. So we have to call that genre dark tea. It makes things a little bit confusing. So for the purposes of our literature, we always call it black. Sorry, we call it crimson tea. So when you see crimson tea, you can think to yourself, okay, if this were anywhere else, it'd be called black tea. But at Jagasilk, it's called crimson tea. So this is a crimson tea from a really interesting region. Now, Yunnan is the Yunnan terroir is chocolate. The Yunnan terroir is kind of a yam flavor. We find that really amazing selections from this region have those two flavor characteristics. Kind of like when you bake a yam and you get the sugary parts kind of coming out of the peel, and you bite into it and you get that kind of honey flavor, a little bit of butter. Yeah, you can really smell that. Really encourage you to go onto our webpage and check this one out. This is really nice. It's 3.5 minutes, 3 grams, 180 mils, boiling water. When crimson tea is under extracted, it gets a little bit woody. When it's old, it gets bland. It's not like green tea that gets this old hay flavor. It's more of a boringness. It doesn't have vibrancy. But this tea has vibrancy, and it's got some richness. It's smooth. Yeah, highly recommend it. So my guest is quite late. It's really too bad. I'll try again. See if we can't get her on. Just give me a moment. Okay. Chestnut. I would go with some sort of buckwheat honey, I think I've been talking about. Yeah, really, really nice. I'm actually quite interested in how this tea selection would work in a gong fu style. I think I'm going to give that a go. So I'm going to grab my favorite teapot. This little guy. And I'm going to try it in a very different style. Oh, I think we've been joined by Sister Speak. Let me see if I can let her join on the call. Okay. Hello. Is that Sherri Ann?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you?
It's good to have you on. Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, it was really fun coming on your show earlier today.
Yeah, I was racing to get on here. Everything was falling over on the porch because it was so windy.
Oh no! Oh geez, eh? What a.
My whole tea flew, but the glass didn't break.
Well, let's let's. You look pretty cold out there. I was like, wow, I'm amazed that she can actually play chords.
I know, I was somehow doing it. I was like, I gotta be on the porch for the 1 year anniversary.
That's awesome. Well, you made it happen. So congratulations. We're, we're
Well,
actually,
thank you. I just boiled some water, so are we making it?
I'm mid drinking. Why don't
Oh,
you? Yeah, catch.
so maybe-
So I was talking about this tea. Why don't we get you making it? It's a 3 gram, of 3 grams of tea, 180 grams of boiling water. It's 3.5 minutes.
Okay, 3.5 minutes. 3 grams.
Oh,
Got this.
you got this. You got this. I figured that while you're making it, there was another way I wanted to try the tea. So the way you're making it is the way that is on the packaging. This tea actually just released 2 days ago on our webpage. It replaced. Do you remember the Talk Lie?
Yes.
Yeah. So the Talk Lie has sold through, and this is the next tea in the crimson tea genre for Jaga Silk. So this is the new release. I was telling the audience too about, this we had so many technical issues last week that I decided to make this episode about confirming that we're actually going to be okay when we go and have our wonderful roster of guests join us next week. So thank you for being on the show every week. It's really special to have you here. I was talking about the performances that you put on every Thursday and encouraging people to check them out.
Oh, that's sweet.
This tea, it's from a region called Yunnan in China, and you look at the leaves and they're quite large. Zong, which is what we call this Yunnan Zong, because normally we name it after the cultivar, and so you'd think that Yunnan being the province name doesn't actually make sense, but it's called Yunnan Zong. That's actually the name of the cultivar, so it's named after. And Zong means big leaf, so it's sometimes just called big leaf. So Yunnan big leaf is another way of talking about it. So Zong.
Yunnan.
So,
Big leaf.
yeah, and it just means that the leaves are big, and they're kind of heirloom. More, I guess you could say, they're not made in a nursery. These particular cultivars, although many farmers will find a cultivar that they really enjoy, and they'll find a variety that they really enjoy, and they'll keep propagating that variety. But it's not necessarily a registered cultivar like you would see with like Longjing number 43, which is you're more familiar with the Japanese cultivars like Yabukita or Okumidori, right? Those are registered in a nursery. We know the genetics behind them, like what is the family tree for how we got to those particular cultivars, and so when we're propagating them, there's that understanding. Whereas with the Dayao style, or we have another one called Zong, which means like small, that's the one coming after this. We have a Kimen Zong, and that's like a small leaf, so it's kind of fun. But anyways,
So 3.5 minutes, you said?
yes, yeah, that's right. So we're gonna do a 3.5 minute brew time over 3 grams of leaves. We're gonna do 180 grams of water.
I did 200. Is that okay?
It'll be a little bland, but it shouldn't be the end of the world. If I accidentally do 200, I often spill, like I purposely pour out a little bit, just a tiny bit, so I get closer to 180 for the extraction.
Oh, got you. Okay, well, I added also. Oh no, I was perfectly at 3 grams. 3 grams of tea, right?
Yeah, 3 grams, 180. Yeah, if it's like, I say, give yourself 5 grams of error. If you're over or under by 5 grams of water, then don't worry about it. If you're more than that, probably useful to do a slight edit.
Yeah.
And then I feel with leaves, it depends on the dose. With matcha, for example, where you're doing a 2-gram dose, you can't really taste it if it's within 5%. So like a 0.1 variance isn't really going to be a big deal. But when you start getting to 0.2 or 0.3, you can really taste the difference. Like 2.3 and 1.7 are wildly different in terms of strength of flavor for a matcha, surprisingly enough. And
Wow.
just a leveled off teaspoon makes a big it's very wild how weather changes will actually change the mass of what fits inside of a leveled off teaspoon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can we assess how beautiful the steam looks with the guitar?
Yeah, that's pretty rad. Love it. Very, very nice. Very nice. I'm assessing. Yeah, that's an assessed steam of niceness. I wanted you to also maybe take a look at the leaves, see what they look like.
Oh, they're getting they're uncurling. They look so cool.
You know, what's interesting about this tea is the Yunnan terroir is yam. It is chocolate. It is butter and sugar. Like when you put your nose in there and give it a good smell, you can actually pick up the yam, the potato, and the chocolate. Right? Isn't that cool?
Yeah, absolutely, completely.
Yeah, it's not like, sometimes tasting notes, it's like, yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from. Yeah, it's kind of nutty or chestnutty, but this is very strikingly yam, like cooked yam and chocolate. And chocolate, like,
yeah.
It's
totally
cool.
Oh,
eh?
pecan yams.
Sure. Yeah, I'm into it. I don't know what they
The
are.
yams where they add pecans and maple syrup.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I've actually never had them before, but I can imagine that there would be that similarity. The maple syrup too, for sure. This kind of cooked sugar. So while you were making that, I figured it'd be kind of cool for me to go and make the same tea because you're about to drink what I was just drinking and talking about. I'm going to make the same tea, but I'm going to make it the gong fu cha style,
Okay.
So I'll do like a very strong extraction. If I could find my tea, there it is. All right. So you're at a year. That's amazing. Oh, you're actually you're past a year, right? Like,
well,
I feel like I celebrated a year last week, and I think you started before me.
Yeah, because the year anniversary was one day after for me.
Yeah.
So it hadn't quite been over 365, or it hadn't quite been 365 days. I think it was like 364.
I think I was kind of concerned that I celebrated a little early.
Oh, I can't remember. Did we start on the same week?
I thought you started a week before me. That's what I felt. Like you started on the Friday, and then I came in the next week.
Oh, I think I might have done my first one maybe on a Saturday, and then done Thursdays.
Yeah. Well, you used to do like both, didn't you? You were like doing one for one region of the world and one for another.
I still do the first Saturday only.
Right. Okay.
Because otherwise I get too tired.
I believe it. Yeah, those. It's interesting, those streams, because you're not just up there. It's not that it's not tiring and amazingly challenging to just do a standard live show, but I remember when we did that live stream with Truth and Dolphin. I was so grateful that we had Mew there, because she was the producer, essentially. She was going around making sure the cameras were functioning and all that. But like when we're doing these streams, there's a lot more to it than the performance. That you're interacting on the chat, you're making sure the equipment is functioning correctly. There's this whole component to it that's it's really fun, but I think it takes more energy, etc., to make it happen. So I can imagine that doing 2 of them every week was and you, on top of that, you were doing the live streams from JagaVision for the musical tea that we were doing last year, and are continuing to do a Final Fridays.
Oh, I paused my first Saturday when we started doing those.
Makes sense.
We were doing them every week, yeah.
So you're tasting it. You're sorry. I don't want to interrupt what you're saying. I heard you sip the tea, and I was like, oh. Oh,
it's delicious. It's what is it? Why do I taste strawberry?
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
There's something really familiar that I taste that I can't pinpoint.
Cool.
I would say yam, but I would also say taro.
Taro. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's like a starchiness to it, hey? Yeah.
Yeah, like this would be really good as like a flavor for a dessert.
Yeah, for sure.
you know?
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're making me crave bubble tea now.
Yeah, and then it go really well with like tapioca and milk,
Yeah, yeah,
balls.
totally. It's got that. I mean, this is like a quintessential region. I was explaining before you came on the show that Yunnan is really where most of the trade for what we call black tea was coming out of China when the British were originally starting to drink tea. Um,
Ooh,
so
that's right.
this variety was almost made for that relationship. So yeah, pretty fun.
Oh,
Ah.
I'm finally warming up.
Oh, we have a comment from one of our viewers that they love bubble tea too. That's Lorianne. Um,
Nice.
so yeah, no, we I think that chocolate and that yam really makes a big difference for sure. And I'm picking up something more strawberry like in my gong fu cha. I don't know if this is placebo because you mentioned strawberry. Now I'm thinking strawberry, but I wasn't tasting fruit when I was drinking this, the quote unquote English style, where you see what you're drinking right now is 1 gram per 60 mils. Okay.
Hmm.
What I'm drinking is, I made it a second way, which is the Gong Fu style. So that's 1 gram per, I don't know. So I did 4 grams for 90 mils. So whatever the math on that is, it's like 1.33 grams per 30 mils, I believe it is.
And how long did you steep it for? Really short?
Like a 20-second or 15-second brew time. And I get a lot more fruit out of it this way, and I get a reduced acidity. So
That's what I've been doing lately. I've been just doing like more concentrated, just for like 10 seconds and just pour it out.
it just makes sense. It's a really enjoyable. There's a lot more. This one tastes less like yam and more like russet potato. So
Oh,
the the tu-
what?
the tuber has changed.
Interesting because yam to me is more like fun and dessert, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
recipe.
totally. And
So this one's less fun.
I feel like I'm getting strawberry and like French fries.
Oh,
in
weird.
a good way. There's like a
Oh, okay.
there's like a saltiness to it when I brew it this way. That's so fascinating.
That
Yeah.
sounds like a really uncomfortable combination. Strawberry and French fries. I don't know. Like,
I was one of those weird kids who had ketchup chips with yogurt. So I don't know. I feel like I
oh,
can.
that sounds good.
It was.
Wait.
I'm sure it was horrible for me, but yeah, one of my my good friends, you remember Derek, and
Yeah.
that was our thing. Yeah.
That's probably not that bad for you. It's just like having chips and tzatziki.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if I thought about French fries with ketchup,
Yeah.
French fries with strawberries, it's not that far off because ketchup is very sweet.
Right? Yeah. This is not really. I'm enjoying this. I don't have the words to describe it. I think that that initial hit of fruit was really interesting though. But I gotta be
Yeah.
careful because you are what you drink, right? So.
Yeah.
um.
You're really talking the jokes lately.
I know, eh? Yeah. You
My
should have
favorite
seen.
is what-
You should
when
have seen me yesterday. I think it was all about tencha. So tencha for our viewers is the material for making matcha. You mill it to make matcha. It's the deveined, destemmed. Anyway, I was saying how everything's really in tencha, and you know, and we have to pay more attention.
Attention.
Anyway.
You're on it like a bonnet.
Right.
That was what you said the other day.
Yeah, that's a saying though. I didn't make that up. Yeah.
I know.
Anyhow,
I'm like-
Yunnan Zong. I think I prefer it the way where I brew it a little longer. I get more chocolate.
Sorry, I just wanted to see if we could make any more jokes that would be even more uncomfortable. Like, you know, when if you make it really cheesy, it hits that uncomfortable point.
Yeah. Well, we could just talk. You could talk about it and not actually make the joke.
Yeah, I don't know if we quite got there yet.
Yeah.
But like on it like a bonnet isn't even a joke, but doesn't it almost give you that?
Oh
But it's
yeah.
also
It's
adorable.
there. It's there. Yeah.
But it's also adorable.
Yeah. Fair. I'm feeling it. Yeah.
Okay, so this tea.
So Yunnan, I was also saying, is responsible for producing the world's pu'er. So anything that's from southern Nanuo is pu'er. Anything that's not from southern Nanuo is referred to as dark tea in North America. What's called dark tea in North America is referred to as black tea at origin. What we call black tea in North America is referred to as crimson tea at origin. So what we're drinking right now is a crimson tea that's from a region that's very famous for its true black teas. And so the big difference in production is that those true black teas, those what we call dark teas, are fermented. So there's a fermentation process. There's an aging process. You don't want to break into a pu'er cake until it's at least 10 years old, and you have this world where I guess these crimson teas were more invented for export, and how you produce them is it's all about that enzymatic oxidation that we talk about when we're comparing green teas to oolongs to crimson teas. And excuse me, to go from an oolong to a crimson involves a kind of a change in the sugar and cell structures of the or a breakdown of the sugars in the tea as the PPO enzyme, the propyl oxidase enzyme, does its magic. It browns the leaves, and you end up finding that these teas, the further you let them wither, are less prone to releasing acid and astringency. You can get these hotter temperatures on them without drawing out these unpleasant flavors that you would find in a lot of green teas. So in your green teas, where you haven't allowed for that enzymatic process to occur, you're doing a process called kill green really early in the process, actually within 23 hours of harvest, if you want to have a technical green tea. Then you are going to be more prone to releasing really acidic flavors with hotter water temperatures. So you have to curate that umami or that vegetal sweetness that's a lot more pleasant by using lower water temperatures for these green teas. So this is a good example of a very deeply withered or a fully oxidized via that enzymatic oxidation process tea, right? And the region is really famous for knowing what they're doing. And those around the world that are kind of learning this process, maybe they're growing Camellia sinensis and they want to, instead of making green teas, like we were working with one of the farmers in Mandokoro in Japan, and we were talking a lot about what different regions do for making their crimson teas. And this region is generally one that people would seek out for knowledge and experience. Whereas the Taklai that we had before this, that was Bihar is not famous for growing tea at all. However, the owners know what they're doing because they are based in Darjeeling, and Darjeeling is a very famous growing region in India. Right?
It's incredible that kombucha.
Right. Yeah.
Have you made kombucha with this tea too?
We just bottled some yesterday.
I was gonna say it's gonna be good with kombucha.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. Oddly enough, the SCOBY, the ferment seems to really enjoy this tea, and it grows fairly exponentially, and so we have to be quite careful with it. So I'm not sure if it's one that we can use moving forward, but we have some really. It's nice if you can get a tea that doesn't necessarily discourage growth, but doesn't over encourage it. We find that with kombucha, it's a slower process of fermentation that makes it draw out more interesting flavors, more complex flavor structures via a more I guess careful growth of the yeast and the bacteria. So yeah, when it's too fast, it's like a malt vinegar. It's got a harshness to it, and I think tea is an enzymatic oxidation rather than a fermentation. It's often called fermented. Hey, like people talk about the fermentation of the tea, or there's like a fermentation room, but fermentation should involve like a bacterial culture, like in yogurt or sourdough, and you do have that with your dark teas or the pu'ers of the world, but you don't have it in a tea like this. This is more of an enzymatic oxidation rather than a fermentation.
How do they get the? Oh, I just realized. Do you need me at 2:00 there?
Yeah.
Because I gotta eat still.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, I think it's a good time to. I wanted to prove to myself before we had our wonderful lineup next month that the system works, and it does. I think this is a good talk about Yunnan Dayao Zong. Just
Yeah.
for our viewers to know, next week we'll have Tea Can on. We had a great session with them during the tea festival. We'll be drinking their tea. That's that yellow bag that I gave you, Sherri Ann. And then
Oh, cool.
the week after that, Sarjessa will be on. Sarjessa Teas really focuses on women's rights and combating domestic abuse, and as a big advocacy part of their tea endeavor. So we're really excited to have them on April 15th. And then the manager of Folepi is going to be on from the talking about matcha and implementing it in a bar. I believe we have Mr. Yamaguchi confirmed to come on live from Japan. April's going to be quite a roster of interesting guests, so we're really excited. I hope everybody tunes in. Did you have any final words that you wanted to say about this tea before we let you go? I know you're in a hurry.
Well, I was just wondering what the process was to ferment pu'er. What bacteria ferments it? Where does it come from?
1 second. Hey, JV. What is what is the bacteria name for pu'er? Are you Googling it? He's so Googling it.
He also could just be Googling it in his mind.
He could be. What was that? Okay, he's not Googling it. This is. Sherri Ann says you're Googling your mind. Yeah, he is. Okay, Orensis. Okay.
Orensis.
Yeah, maybe Aspergillus. Who knows? I don't know. Yeah, no, that's it is a bacteria though that is native to that area. So if it's not from southern Nanuo, then you could make a fermented tea in the similar style with similar bacteria that you capture. But they say that it really needs to be in that environment with that humidity. So pu'er is actually an appellation. It's similar to champagne versus sparkling wine. That's the relationship that you have with pu'er versus what we call dark tea, and it's called black tea at origin.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And what we call black tea and what is called crimson tea at origin is just a fully withered, where it's like when you cut an apple and you let it brown, you're letting it dry via that oxidative process. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense.
Cool. And that's what we're drinking right now. One that's been very carefully managed in that relationship. And then at the very end, when they feel like they've really attained what they want to go for, they've done the kill green process and they've dried it out to that 4% moisture retention, and we have a tea. Anyhow, you can check out Sherri Ann on sisterspeakmusic.com. Go to patreon.com/sisterspeak, and you can see her live shows. If you sign up for them, there's always better sound and better video if you become a patron. And we look forward to having her on almost every show. I think you're almost like 100%. We're pretty close. It's
yeah, like 98.
I look at you as my co-host, so I really appreciate you being on, and I think you're going to really enjoy April. And I know you have quite a busy schedule in May, so we'll likely miss you for some episodes, but hope that you get a chance to look at them when you're done all of your busyness with the musical endeavors that you have going on.
You know, there's always a Starbucks parking lot, so that
you never know. You've joined us from the passenger seat of a car in the past. Yeah, please.
Yeah, mostly just for the parking lot.
Yeah.
Starbucks has really good water and Wi-Fi.
There you go.
I can't say that I support a lot of things else, but
you support the water and you support the parking lot.
I do.
Okay.
Support their triple filtration system.
It's good. Awesome.
Worldwide.
We have a quadruple filtration system. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Dang.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll see you soon, and we'll also see you on. We'll see you next week. And then final Fridays, I want to remind our viewers, Sister Speak performs outside in Nooka Court. It's free reservations on our webpage, jagasilk.com. And you can also tune in by live video link. It's background music to our tea and desserts, our afternoon of tea and desserts that we do every Friday. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. See you later. Bye.
Please.
Okay, so that was Sister Speak, joining us for what looks to have been a very solid episode. We had a little bit of a faulty start where we began and stopped, but for those of you who were able to get onto the show as it was able to stream. I think that we're going to have a solid technology moving forward. So we updated some of our technology in the background here. Looking forward to our streams being a lot more stable moving forward. Yeah, we hope that you stay safe out there. If you're in BC, there's some new restrictions for the coronavirus, and we all are. I know it's very cliche by now, but I really mean it, and that we are in this together. I think there's an opportunity here to just be very safe. Wear your mask. Have a face shield when you need to. We do our service in face shields, even though we don't technically have to, because we want to contribute to that energy of just being safe together. So hopefully you can get your vaccine when it becomes available, and we look forward to the community entering a space where we can shake hands again. Wouldn't that be amazing? So we'll get there. Keep the hope, and we'll see you next week, Thursday, 1 o'clock. We're gonna have TCAN on to join us for drinking some of their tea, and we look forward to it. So take care.